All right, thanks for watching this presentation. My name is Matt Erickson. I am a senior WMS consultant with Mantis. Mantis is an Ecovium company. We are based in Germany, and most of our WMS team is out of Greece. Thanks for taking some time, showing some interest. We're going to talk today about work optimization in a high volume, high velocity e-fulfillment center. So, exciting project that Mantis undertook in Europe to help solve some of the problems of one of our big 3PL customers. So, let's dive in. So this is an actual picture of that fulfillment center. So we're going to get in, we're going to talk about what all those people are doing and all those levels on the pick area there. So the customer, again, this is kind of a use case example from Mantis. Our customer is a 3PL customer in Europe. So they have a lot of different warehouses, 90 plus warehouses. They manage a transportation fleet, and they have about 13 million square feet of closed warehouse area that they are managing. So this is an example of what we were able to do with one of their warehouses in Europe, one of their customers. So 3PL trying to meet the needs of one of their large, fast-growing customers. So again, the example that we're going to talk about and the statistics we have here on this metric slide really ended up being about half of the warehouse. They added a mezzanine level, that second floor, that really doubled their space. So we're talking about 300,000 square feet, 80,000 picking locations, a lot of 20 inbound stations, 30 outbound stations, 180 concurrent warehouse WMS users in the system at a time. Million SKUs, a lot of product, about 130,000 orders a day going through. And again, this is e-fulfillment, so those orders are a lot of single line orders, but some of those orders are 2, 3, 4 items per order. Basically, the scenario here was the customer of this 3PL, a large e-commerce company, was trying to prepare for a Black Friday event, and basically, the whole project was geared around how do they, in Europe, leverage kind of a low automation, but leveraging workflows and processes in Mantis. How do we get to that high velocity and really hit that high volume numbers that they need? How do we build a warehouse that can scale really high, but then also handle day-to-day business when it's not Black Friday? So Greenfield warehouse, this was a build from scratch. And the Mantis team was part of that. It was a 3 to 4 month engagement, and really the focus was on how do we minimize errors, how do we minimize bottlenecks. So a lot of workflow within the warehouse. We worked on not having areas where everything got choked. Better flow, obviously, and then process pitfalls. How are we rapidly able to adjust to different scenarios of different types of products and things? Okay, as we know, the most critical part of any WMS implementation is the integration. So this customer, we really only had one integration to do. That was the e-commerce customer's back-end solution. So that was beneficial, but also complicated. Large e-commerce company, their back-end was complicated to integrate with. A lot of changes happened during the project. So constant changes, working with sample files that ended up not being accurate, that type of thing. One of the advantages of the Mantis solution, though, is its ability to handle that and do integrations, a lot of different integrations, and adjust integrations on the fly. There's a good integration engine built into Mantis, so able to handle that. So real-time integration, not a problem. We used XML. At the most, we had about 5 minutes delays. The orders were constantly coming in from the e-commerce site, and they could be canceled at any point. Stock allocation is performed right after we had the order imported, and then we confirmed it back to the e-commerce site as far as the stock availability. Status changes constantly captured and reported real-time back to the e-commerce site. Order statuses, if they sent us a cancel, whatever, we would process and send back updates. Inventory messages going back and forth, including lost, damaged, or found items. So there's a pretty tight inventory level information going back and forth. So the key, though, with the customer was once a shipping label was applied, basically the SLAM event, right? Scan, shipping label, apply, and manifest. Once we did that, we basically put it on the truck. So up to that point, up till the slam, up till putting that shipping label on, we were able to cancel orders. So high integration and a lot of complexity there and a lot of requirements from that e-commerce. So Mantis is able to handle that. This is a example of kind of our inbound, and this is an actual example of that inbound receiving screen. You can see they would scan the product on the inbound. It would give them a picture, but then also tell them where to put it. So the inbound totes, yellow, different colors had different purposes. So a lot of processing on the inbound side, basically for receiving. So if you think about what things that they had to do on the inbound side, so for instance, first time a product shows up in a warehouse, if it gets scanned, an example of that product is sent into a different colored tote to handle for the QA process. So Cubiscan, volumes, dimensions, weights, that type of thing were captured immediately the first time product showed up in the warehouse. There was also, if product had suspected quality issues, those items could be flagged, and every 10th case that came in the door, so to speak, could go to a QA colored tote that could be processed by a quality team and then put back in inventory. Also, any expensive or high theft items could be tagged separately into different colored totes. Those could be put away separately or differently later on down the process. So a lot of handling, again, manual processes, right? This is Europe, Eastern Europe, and not a lot of automation in the warehouse. Mostly, how do we build manual processes to handle the things that we need to handle? So other activities happening, again, are prep activities. Sometimes there's labeling that needs to be applied. This is a lithium battery sticker type thing. So those can be captured on the inbound side, quickly thrown into different colored totes for different types of processing. So the Mantis system was able to handle a lot of that. Again, the user's guided and directed through that process, so we're not relying on users to understand or know those processes. Mantis is directing that. Validation of item volumetrics happens quickly. A lot of that inbound prep activity can also be directed and handled, and you're also understanding on the inbound side what volume of workforce you need to handle that day's activity. So a lot of things happening in that space, but Mantis was able to handle that. So that was also a positive, to handle a lot of different things coming inbound, but have the system be directing the work for the users. All right, the next item I want to talk about, chaotic storage. So this somewhat goes against what we normally try to do in our WMS systems, right? We want our WMS system to direct our put away. This was a solution that we came up with because of the high volume warehouse and the nature of it. Chaotic storage actually worked out really well. When the warehouse was built and the product was loaded into it, it was loaded into it pretty traditionally, one product in each location. But over time, during when locations would become depleted, space would become available, users now are directing their own put away. So the put away totes would come up to the pick floor. Users who were directed to be put away workers for that day would basically start scanning the locations, scanning the product, and associating those. So a few rules in the system that Mantis enforced: you wouldn't have more than 6 SKUs in a bin, not more than X number of pieces of a single item in a bin. But really, the chaotic storage was a way to get maximum, usage of all that storage space, maximum efficiency at storage, as well as reducing picking hot areas. Basically, you wouldn't have certain areas that became hot or congested. Again, one of the key goals of the project was to reduce congestion in the workflow areas. But basically, that location multi-tenancy is what allowed for that. Super high rotation of SKUs, constantly changing locations, but basically users found places they wanted to put stuff away and they put it away. And that was much more efficient than the directed put away. Saves time in the put away and gives you a lot more flexibility in picking. So that was one of the key processes, chaotic storage, that Mantis was able to implement quickly. Now we've handled product on the inbound side, we were able to put it away. Now we're going to talk about order profiling. So a key part of managing the work within the warehouse for this solution was having those supervisors think about and plan out the day as far as what types of orders the warehouse was going to deal with that day, and what the human resources requirements for each of those types of orders are. So it wasn't automatic wave drops at specific times, but basically it was grouping orders based on some criteria. So for instance, key things for this warehouse and this customer and this customer's client was is it a normal order or is it a rush order? So prime orders versus regular customers. So obviously we need to get the prime orders out more quickly. The regular customers can wait. Is this an order that's a single line order, or is it a multi-line order? Single line orders flow through much more quickly. The multi-line orders have a different type of process happening on the back end. We also had fill or kill situations where some orders could be canceled if there was not enough inventory. Some orders you do want to have that validation. There was also some items that needed post-picking processing, gift wrapping, for instance, or gift notes, that type of thing. So thinking about how they were able to do advanced order profiling, and a lot of it was really around what they called the critical pull time, the CPT. So we know this chunk of orders needs to go out quickly or immediately. This chunk of orders can flow through during the day. That was key to preventing collisions in the warehouse, was making these smaller batches that were able to flow through the warehouse based on order profiling. So order profiling, another key element we were able to implement in Mantis for them. It also created this concept, waveless picking, basically released in waves. So another interesting idea where you are creating different order profiles or profiles of batches of orders that can then flow through the warehouse at different paces and different priorities. So it really became, you were dropping waves, but the waves could end up, one newer wave could supersede an older wave based on priority in the warehouse, based on timing that had to go out. So waveless picking was also something that was a requirement for the project, and it was successful. Order execution kind of also falls into that same place. Once you have figured out your which groups of orders and which types of orders, and you look at critical pull time, you look at whether you need to do gifting or no gifting, or which carriers are handling it, or multi-unit versus single unit orders, those types of things. Basically, managing that order execution, what they found, small batches per zone were better to keep the work flowing through. When you had large batches, it became taking longer in the pick areas would create congestion later on. So best of both worlds. Again, basically waveless and wave-based picking interacting in the same place. So this picture shows us some of those pick totes, yellow pick totes, and what that looks like. So basically, you're cubing, again, for a lot of this is how much can a picker put into one or two totes, and how much is in the batch, and what's in the next batch, that type of thing. So calculations of pick needs, how many people I need, what type of personnel I need in the pick zone, based on that group and based on that wave, that type of thing. A lot of weight importance here, right? Don't want to exceed weights in the totes for those pickers. There's those concerns. Also volume, and really just the number of tasks per tote and the user, and trying to balance out the workload for the users was a key part of making that successful and the process flow work well for the employees. Picking. So again, they basically were doing a zone kind of batch pick. So either a wave or waveless type batch pick in the picking zones. And the interesting thing about how we implemented picking on the devices, this is an actual screenshot here on the left of one of the products that they picked. So if you think about Europe, lots of different languages. Some of these people working in e-fulfillment center warehouse environments not literate, not able to read, especially not able to read all of the languages of Europe or speak all the languages of Europe. So the idea of pictures on the pick side became very important, and it really improved the quality of the pick. So if I'm going to a location and I'm being told, basically pick a blue book that has a big white word in the middle of it with some pictures on top. I go to that location, I can find a blue book, I pull it out, yep, that matches the picture, scan it and go. So for this use case and this set of workers, especially ramping up the workforce, not a lot of training needed, easily identify. I go to this location and I find a thing that looks like this. That worked out very efficiently. They don't even have to know how to read, but basically they can image match. So that worked out really well. It also helped with the devices driving the pick, allowing higher priority waves to kind of come through the pick process and work their way through more quickly ahead of other waves that maybe even started earlier. So the waveless picking with the device directed picking really works well together. Basically that was the picking process, really derived from the device, and people pick into, in this case, these yellow totes, and then those yellow totes go down into a wrangling area. So wrangling, a new term, right? We talked about chaotic storage, probably not something you're familiar with in normal warehouse situations, but wrangling was a concept that was implemented as a way of sorting the totes and the orders in a way that was most efficient for this implementation. Again, thinking high volume, low automation. So the wrangling area was basically a whole cart area where those picking totes come down. They get scanned by a person working in the wrangling area, and he starts building those carts on the side, which are the batches. So basically keeping that whole batch together and waiting for that whole batch to complete and come out of picking before you move it on to the next step. So the wrangling area was a way to keep all these waves together and to keep the process working, flowing through the warehouse without backlogs, without things getting delayed. When each batch was complete, the cart would move on to the sorting station. So single order totes actually move directly to the packing stations. So these are really for orders that are multi-line orders that ended up going into the wrangling area. So trying to figure out a way to handle those situations, and you'll see in a minute we use a sort wall, but there's sorting that has to happen to those. So isolating those, building the batches, making sure the batches come out of picking and then move on in a chunk was really important, and that it really eliminated bottlenecks in the workflow. So sorting, kind of a classic sort wall there. Basically for those, again, multi-line orders, all the totes for the same batch would come down into the sorting area off of that wrangling cart. The tote would be scanned. You'd scan the item and it would tell you, take it to the sort wall. You'd basically scan either an empty spot if it didn't already have started that order, or it'd tell you where to go on the sort wall to put it into that existing order. So a lot of this work we kind of titled "Follow Me and Wait for Me." Right, the batches are all coming in, and we're waiting for that last tote, and then we move that from picking to wrangling to sorting, and then when it's sorted on the sort wall, now each of those new black totes is an individual order, so that would go into the pack outs area. So also again super efficient, and a way to reduce bottlenecks in the warehouse. And a lot of this, the wrangling area and the sorting area, can scale based on warehouse floor space availability. So this is really where the key of handling that super high volume really happens. The high volume, high velocity. The way to scale that out is in those areas, and that was also very successful for this customer. Let's talk a little bit about pack out. So packing stations, there's a lot going on. There's gift wrapping possibly. There's potential hazmat situations where paperwork needs to be included in the shipment or labels need to be applied, and that needs to be sequenced. We're going to show you an example here of the pack out screen, but Mantis has implemented, and this is in their normal warehouse management system. The pack out is a touch screen solution that directs the pack out person through the steps needed for that specific pack out, right? Box type, is this hazmat? Does this need bubble wrap? Does it need a gift message? Those things can be broken down step by step. So again, very directive, very, very clear instructions to the end user. Really interesting stuff that is able to be done and made very efficiently. So let's talk about the think we've covered most of this. Outbound touchscreen packing. Again, packing instructions are displayed. The carton size suggestion is there. That was also a key picture for that, or a key feature for them. Pictures of the items, again, another QA step. Pictures work really well. Printouts and carrier manifests, shipping labels, packing slips, gift messages, all that comes out on the printers. Even the tape for the boxes, as you've seen these types of boxes arrive in your home, I thought personally this was interesting. The pack out station basically has a tape machine, 10 buttons on there. Each button represents a size of box. So Mantis is suggesting what size of box to ship this in. They grab that box, make the box, and then hit the button, and the tape comes out in the right lengths to seal up and close that box based on that box size. So all this was really well thought out by the customer and very efficient. Very, very good integration with Mantis. Here's the example of that touch screen. So here we've got pictures, we've got a flash card and a laptop notebook case. We've got put it in a gift wrap box, warnings about it being a multi-unit order and that it needs gift wrap, that type of thing. So all very directive, instructive, works very cleanly. A lot of this can be also managed by pack out stations. So some stations will handle a lot of different types of orders. Maybe I do some gift wrapping or not all gift wrapping, or some hazmat or not all hazmat. Or Mantis can send, oh hey, all the gift wraps go to these 2 pack out stations. In that case, the pack out or the warning message for gift wrap wouldn't appear on every order because that workstation is set up just to do gift wrapping. So that saves some time, and it can help again isolate that work volume into somebody that can handle more volume of it. So Mantis is very flexible on the outbound pack out side. So overall, LVS accomplished the goals at this implementation. Significantly improved service quality compared to what they were seeing with other solutions. So this particular e-commerce company has their own warehouse management system and implements a lot of their own warehouses. And that team thought they were seeing even better results in this. This is the only implementation in Europe from this 3PL using Mantis for that e-commerce company. And they were seeing significant improvements in throughput and processing. A lot of manual processing is minimized. Errors from that process is eliminated. Although those extra use cases, like on the inbound side, doing any kind of handling or adjustments or packaging or QA, was handled easily by the receiving process. And on the pack out side, a lot of complexity and different types of products needing different post-pick kind of value add services. That was handled very cleanly by Mantis as well. So basically, this was a high volume e-commerce operation. It was low automation, but using work processes, people, again, being very directive in the solution. Mantis was a big win for them. So key takeaways, again, let's talk about chaotic storage. Think about how that might work in your solution. Wrangling and sorting with put walls, that was also key to reducing bottlenecks and improve that user productivity. And then the intelligent multi-purpose touchscreen packing stations, super key to making that pack out be optimized and efficient, right? The pack out stations tend to be the place that bottlenecks are going to occur, so making those as smooth and efficient as possible is key. Mantis has a lot of other features that we haven't really talked about. Put away, cross dock. We did talk a little bit about location multi-tenancy, dynamically assigning locations, changing capacity, advanced outbound order profiling. A lot of features in Mantis. Love to talk to you more about some of those, but this was specifically around that high velocity e-commerce fulfillment center. So here's my information. If you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, thank you. Thanks for your time. And let us know if there's anything we can do for you.